This is my Epic Park series, where I'm attempting to build a hyper-realistic park in Rollercoaster Tycoon Classic, including a pay-on-entry system which is putting major restraints on my budget. This video is also a chance for me to say hello to all of you who have recently discovered, viewed, commented or subscribed to my channel. It's been great to see the channel get a small boost, and I owe Marcel Voss a big thanks for his shout out recently. So if you're one of my new viewers, hi, it's great to have you here. In this series I step away from the tips, tricks and ride guides, and I'm building a brand new park. So here's where we're at so far. I created the landscape in Park Editor and added as many of the original rides and scenery themes as I could, selecting ones I felt would fit into a realistic park. I'm 7 Rollercoaster Tycoon years in now, and after building the stand-up coaster in my last video, I'm ready to expand to a new area I'm referring to as the beach. We already have the Haunted Fairground, Wild West, Mine, Junior Wonderland and Roman areas occupying space around the front of the park. Today is about completing this front left quarter of the park using the sandy beach on the lake. First off, I've taken out the path already there and I'll replace this with a seaside tram ride. The idea for this area is to create a seaside funfair, so as well as the trams I'll have a pier, boat rides, ice cream, Ferris wheels and a compact coaster which wouldn't be out of place in a seaside holiday town. I'm thinking something like a wooden wild mouse. The tram will be a simple shuttle. I could get more trams by creating a short turnaround loop at each end and adding a parallel track. But I don't want to use too much space here, and the shuttle shouldn't take too long to complete on this fairly small track. Plus, guest turnover isn't a major concern as they aren't paying a ride ticket price. So with the tram track in place, I can replace the path, which I'll have hugged the tram tracks, and then create a floral walkway, again similar to what you might come across in a seaside town. Before I add the flowers, I'll create the pier, extending into the lake. I'll use this later as a base for a few rides. Back to the path, and having completed the other half of the walkway, I can add a couple of fountains to mark the entrance of the pier, and then flower beds along the promenade. I'll complete the look with hedge fencing, which will help separate this quaint lakeside area from the thrill rides in the distance. Let's line the pier with jumping fountains and then add ice cream stands each side of the walkway. And at this point I can click my fingers and there we have some rides. Now I could pretend that was just a quick edit and always my intention to skip the build stage, but it wasn't. I messed up the recording. So here's what we have. A lakeside steam train which circles the whole lake. I won't open this yet as the rest of the lake has no attractions and I don't want guests getting lost or left too far from rides. But I've laid it down so I don't have a headache building it later. At the base of the pier we have a merry-go-round, and I've built a new Ferris wheel on the pier itself, removing the one which previously sat between the Wild West and Haunted Fairground areas. The end of the pier has a roto drop and a guided swan ride, guided with tracks because on this big lake I may struggle to get some of my swans to return. Then we have the classic coaster, and I did go for a wooden wild mouse which has its own garden area to travel through, complete with a gardener's barn because all good wild mouse rides need to take advantage of being able to go through doors. The excitement here is high, but I have had to give a little away on intensity and nausea. As I didn't show you the build, let's take a test ride. Because of that high nausea rating, I'll add a first aid room close to the exit, and then before I can open this area of the park, I'll need some guest amenities, so benches and trash cans, lemonade and iced tea stands to accompany the ice cream I'll offer, toilets of course, and some pier souvenir stalls. Sunglasses seem appropriate for a start. Finally, let's build an additional ride for this part of the park. We don't have a log flume anywhere in this theme park, so let's get one, which, while in keeping with the seaside theme, isn't exclusively about the seaside. I'll start it in the gap between the stand-up coaster and the new lakeside area, and take it around the outskirts of the woods which are home to the haunted fairground. I'll start with a little elevation to give guests an immediate drop, and then it's a case of carefully weaving through the gap between monorail and Virginia reel, which means raising the monorail a little earlier to allow the log flume underneath. Let's get our largest climb in here and then our biggest drop, including an on-ride photo section at the base of course. Heading back to the station, we'll have another small hill and drop. I'll build scenery around this later, and then back through the gap towards the station where we can climb again before looping back to the station. I'll dig out some land to create a small lake because that I think is a realistic element of many log flumes in real life parks, and that lake needs fencing of course. Now, we need a lot of trees. I want this log flume to feel like it starts at the lake and travels through the woods, not just some open landscape. I doubt watching me place trees is what you came to YouTube for today, so let's skip to the finished scene, including the log building which houses an indoor drop. We'll need paths to the entrance and exit of course, and now we're ready for a test ride, which I'll play through at ×4 speed and quicker up hills because log flumes are typically quite slow rides. And those are the stats. I'm 0.01 off 7 for excitement on a log flume. That is pretty good going. And I'll get that extra 0.01 when extra rides and scenery is added nearby. So with that, we can open all of these new rides, remove the no entry blocking guests from making their way, and quickly add in some queues and exits for the pier rides. I've been working on this area as a connection from the stand-up coaster, but it now also reconnects to the front of the park, giving guests a complete circle of this quarter of the park. But I am suffering a problem: guests not being able to find these new rides. Did they buy a park map before they were built? Well, no. It's because the game engine has guests try to move in the direction directly towards the ride, rather than necessarily following a paved route. That means guests are heading to this corner of the haunted woodland, but not finding a route to the wooden wild mouse, so I'll build a shortcut to help guests find a quicker way to my new rides. I did mention this quarter of the park now being complete. Actually, it isn't. This speck of land is primed for another ride, but for now I'm happy with the work I've done, and I've got a busy, thriving lakeside beach area for guests to enjoy and to attract new guests to my park. As for the land between the wooden coaster and the lakeside, well, that's for next time.